that okay, Mike?
D'accord.
Okay. Okay, and is the recorder on?
Yes, and it's live, so
Oh, gee.
no worries.
Okay, welcome to everyone to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for October 25th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded, and we'll begin our meeting this evening with an opening prayer by Commissioner Thompson, and then we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Showers.
Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee this evening as Planning Commissioners, we're so grateful to be able to come together to serve. We're grateful for this wonderful community of Lindon which we live in. We ask Thee to continue to bless it so that we may continue to be a wonderful place for our friends and families to reside. Now, as we're about to take commission business, we ask that Thy Spirit may be with us, that we may be inspired to make the right choices to better our community. We're so grateful for this great country and for all those who serve it. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, Renee. Okay, we'll begin our meeting this evening with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks. He isn't here yet. Jared Showers.
here.
Rob Callis. Hasn't arrived yet. Steve Johnson.
Here.
Scott Thompson.
Here.
And Renee Tribe. Here. Okay.
To be excused tonight.
Okay. Okay, and our second item on the agenda, this will be an approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from October 11th, 2022. And commissioners have received those ahead of time and had a chance to review those. I corrected a spelling error with Kathy already, but if there's other corrections,
Yes, on the final motion, so this is on page, I'm not seeing a page number. But it's concerning the ordinance for the commercial development.
yes, right here.
On that last page, my vote was no, not yes on that. So it wasn't unanimous, it was, and I saw on the city council agenda that it was noted correctly, the vote, so.
Thank you.
Other than that,
Okay.
it looked good to me.
Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes with those changes?
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. The next item on our agenda, this would be a time for public comment for items not on the agenda for this evening. I don't note that there's public here tonight, so we'll go ahead. The next item on our agenda, item number 4, this is an ordinance amendment. Appendix A, Standard Land Use Table, and we do need to open a public hearing for that.
I move to open a public hearing.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And like I said, item number 4 is an ordinance amendment for Appendix A, Standard Land Use Table. The applicant is Lindon City, and our presenting staff is Michael Florence.
All right, thank you. So this evening, Being presented an ordinance you'll be making a recommendation to the city council to allow electronic message center signs in our commercial zones. And so the city council last year budgeted, or during this fiscal year, budgeted for a new electronic sign that will go right out here on the corner, here on State Street, between this building and the public safety building. You can see a pipe in the ground right now and some footings that are formed, and so that's the location of this sign. The council asked staff to put together an ordinance to allow electronic message center signs in the rest of the city, and so that is what staff has done before you this evening. So, a couple things. Our current ordinance does allow electronic message center signs. They call them changeable copy signs electronic, and they're currently allowed in the T-zone, which is either side of the I-15 corridor. And so you're allowed to have those attached to the building, or you're allowed to have them as a pole sign. I think there's only a couple of them that I can think of. I think King's Camo has one, and there might be one other one, but so they're not very prevalent right now. But we currently allow them in that T-zone. So the proposal, I'll start with the ordinance. There's some cleanup language in 18.02.090. It talks about lighting in parking lots. I'm not sure why we have parking lot lighting requirements in the sign code, but so this is taking those out and cleaning this up. Then it does talk in number 3. We added some language about a dimmer. So this technology already exists in all of the new electronic message center signs. So that's what we've done. Let me back up real quick. We've changed the name from from changeable copy sign electronic to electronic message center. That's kind of the field name for those now. So number 3, we'll add a dimmer to those. It says all electronic message center signs shall come equipped with automatic dimming technology, which is standard, but it says which will automatically adjust the sign's brightness in direct correlation to ambient light conditions at all times. So as it gets darker at night, the light is less intense. As it starts in the mornings, as it starts to have more sun, the sign becomes brighter. So section 18.03.20020, we added a number of definitions. So definition of animation. We are proposing a new definition for electronic message center. So striking out the changeable copy sign electronic and adding what the definition of electronic message center is. It's a sign that is capable of displaying words, symbols, figures, or images that can be electronically changed by remote or automatic means. The transition, so when signs change from one message to another, they do that in a number of ways, by fading, by flashing, and so we've added some different definitions in here: fading, flash, scroll, sign message transition, so that's that effect from one message to another, and then static message, so that's when your sign message goes static for a period of time, and we'll get more into that in just a minute. So, Scott, did you have questions?
I just noticed that from your original definition, changeable copy sign, it included video, and this one does not include video. Is there a unique?
Is
does
that
this
your
include
animation?
Video, or is that something that's different?
Does that fall under animation?
So we didn't even get into that. Is that on the current or on the old one?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the
It
old one, it
says
says
video
screen
projection.
video,
Video projection or
Mhm.
other similar electronic method.
Yes,
and so video implies to me it's like a moving picture,
yes,
whereas the other one doesn't. So what was your intent?
to allow video.
Okay, so yeah, okay.
So the way you have this laid out, shouldn't electronic message center be first and all those other things are subsets of how it behaves?
No, these are just your definition sections, so they just go alphabetical. So
Well, I see it's alphabetical, but I'm thinking you wanted to change the wording to electronic message center, right? and all these animation, fade, flash, scroll, those are all behaviors of that.
And we'll get into that in this
Okay.
next section of the ordinance.
All right, all right.
So, number 1A is the location, and so this is what I'd like some feedback on. So, again, it's already allowed in the T-zone, that we're keeping that. But then we're saying, it would be allowed, electronic message center signs would be allowed in the commercial general A, commercial general 8A. So those are your that's State Street. Your mixed commercial, that's out by the Pleasant Grove interchange on that west side. The PC1 and PC2 zones, those are over by Home Depot. And then light industrial, the Lindon Village commercial, so that's 700 north. The regional commercial zone, which would be on the west side of the Pleasant Grove interchange where Mark Weldon's built the 2 5-story buildings. And then the heavy industrial zone,
But they all have to be monument signs, right?
except for in the transit zone.
Zone.
Yep.
And I guess what's the purpose of not, because currently, can we allow signs on buildings currently, just static signs? Yes. And so, is there, what would be the reason behind not allowing these on a building? I'm just curious.
You know what, I didn't even get into that, I just, if that's something you want, we can add that here. This was basically, I just followed what we were doing here on this sign out here.
I mean,
It's like a business owner might want to change it out. Is that what you're saying?
well, or if a
He-
business owner.
He already has a sign up there, but he wants to update it and modernize it, so he's gonna want to do something.
Right, if he
That's-
already has a sign on the side of his building, right, or he wants to add a sign on the side of the building, that's currently allowed. I would
Yeah.
assume would want to allow this to apply. I don't see a reason.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why we don't want these signs in anywhere besides residential? I mean,
They're bright. If you have an adjacent residential, sometimes the
we have
brightness.
general commercial that's adjacent to residential.
And we're gonna get into some separation requirements.
Yeah, the 100
As
feet
well.
from residential and 300 feet.
The other thing, like, I used to work with Heath quite a bit over at the community center, and there were a number of occasions it would have been nice to have been able to put announcements in front of the community center, but at the time, I think you couldn't have a electronic sign.
We've always been able to have one. The
Maybe it was
cities
a
and school
budget issue.
districts are exempt.
Okay.
So we don't have to go through the sign code to put up our sign. All the school districts have an electronic sign already. So governments are exempt from these sign
Okay.
requirements because they're public messaging.
I thought I remember Heath saying at the time that
There
city
probably just wasn't
big
support.
on having electronic sign there, but,
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of parents that pass by there, and we have after-school programs and sports programs and announcements, and, you know, even just flagging, you know, trying to get the attention of the seniors over there, you know, because they were doing meals there, I don't know if they're still doing that, so I think, I'd love to see a sign in front of the
Well,
community
even
center.
on State Street in front of the Lindon City Park. You know, they put up announcements like, sign up for flag football, youth sports. And they often, you know, there's a little marquee there with,
That's up to the city council whether they want more than one sign. So and
no, but
that's-
we could, we just haven't.
Could do it.
That's
Okay.
right. I mean, these are tens of thousands of dollars for
Yeah.
these signs. They're not cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
Just back to signs on buildings, it's quite a bit cheaper as well for that smaller business that would like to take advantage of. It's gonna be a lot easier to run electric through a hole in the wall and put up a sign rather than building a whole marquee and a post and, you know,
Yeah.
and that, so
See a lot of those. I don't know how popular they are. I don't see a lot of attached electronic message center signs. I think people are trying to put them out more on the road so people can see them. So I don't know how popular they are. I just don't see a lot, but we can definitely add it if you'd like to.
is there a reason not to?
Right now, I think, let's see, attached signs, do they have to be more of a letter type in our sign code? Right, but we don't allow the cabinet type thing, do we? Let me check something in the code real quick.
Hi, Mike, welcome.
Sorry. Training. Got held up for a minute.
Well, I can see that if there was a business right on State Street that might have a building side or something that has a lot of visibility, they might want to put one right on their building.
I mean, my old building would be an example that I think if people came up 400 North,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That whole backside, actually, the way the trees are planted, it'd probably be more visible to put it on the building than it would be a monument sign out in the lawn, just because of the way the trees are planted and stuff.
Maybe you'd want to limit the height of which they could put something like that on there. I don't know. If
Yeah.
it's distracting to have, if you had a 3-story building, would you want it on the 3rd story? Maybe that's a little too much.
Yeah.
Well, they are limiting the size, you know,
What
in
about
this
the height?
ordinance.
The height that it could be placed on the building.
And billboards are a whole different ballgame. Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
I just see if we put it like this, we are gonna hear from a business owner coming to us at a later day saying why. It will happen over time.
Right.
You could.
So-
I,
So that was my first question, was it specifically excluding it? And the answer is no to that, it wasn't
no,
purposely
it
excluded.
wasn't purposely excluded. I was just more, I guess, focused on the monument signs.
In section, I'm not sure what section this is, 1830, excuse me, 1803:30, it does say that on premises electronic changeable copy signs, that's what we're talking about, right, Matt? May be utilized as a wall sign, a pole sign, or a monument sign.
I think that's in the T zone.
Is that the T-zone?
Yeah.
Okay. It is the T-zone.
Yeah,
New
'cause
sections up above
you
it
couldn't do
says that.
pole
You
signs
could
in
do
a.
poll, but I guess I don't know why would exclude it from the others that are allowed. If we followed the
Allow it
same
in the
ordinance.
T-zone?
We do,
Okay.
yeah. So it's up to you. We'd just need to add some language in here in your motion if you wanted to, add it as electronic signs, as attached electronic signs.
To allow those.
I think we add it because it could mitigate questions in the future.
Well, and when this goes to city council, if that's not something they want,
They can
because
take
we're
it
just
out.
doing, yeah, we're just doing a recommendation.
Okay. Moving on, so are you fine with those zones?
Are there any, I guess I don't know of all, are there any other zones that businesses would be in that are excluded?
No.
Okay.
These are all the business zones, and so
So really, the
Like-
only businesses that are excluded are home occupations, Right.
anything in the residential zone.
I guess. So this would even exclude Wadley and Walker Farms.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to say commercial farm up here.
So that's one that was excluded, was commercial farm, because it's,
Yeah.
okay.
So continuing on, electronic message center signs shall not flash or other similar effects. If you've noticed, this is probably one of the most annoying things about these signs is when, they're flashing that they're having a sale, or, they're pretty distracting to drivers. And so that's something that this says that they cannot flash. It says electronic message centers in D shall not be located a minimum of 100 feet from any residential use. The separation distance shall be measured from the sign to the residential property line. So that's protecting this residential character of the neighborhood. Letter E, where an electronic message center sign is located within 300 feet of any residential use, the electronic message center sign shall remain static from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. the following day and meet illumination requirements. Again, the distance is measured from the sign to the property line. So this is something we had in South Salt Lake that I added here. Again, it's just so you're not having that message moving all the time at night when you're trying to sleep, makes it go static. And so basically it'll just go to one message and then dim accordingly.
That's good.
That's a good call. That was a good thought process on that. I like that.
So letter F, the interval between messages. So this is how long a message is illuminated before it transitions to the next message. So it says the interval between messages shall not be more frequent than 8 seconds, and the actual message rotation process shall be accomplished in 3 seconds or less by a method of transitioning between messages or immediate changes between messages. Messages shall not scroll to move vertically across the display surface. And so I've got an example here from the International Sign Association. So where I got that 8 seconds, that's what the billboard requirement is. And so we can change that illumination time, but I just wanted you to look at these. They don't have one that's 8 seconds, but they've got one, just a couple examples, and hopefully it shows up here. So this is 30 seconds. Actually, we're not even considering 30, so let me just go to a different
30
one.
is too long.
Yeah,
Do the 10.
so
yeah.
10 seconds. Then it changes. 5 seconds.
I'm not sure why we're limiting the time. Help me understand.
Because the
this.
last thing you want is your sign going like this. So let's go to
So
a,
people are,
Well, you're
let's,
saying, but it could be longer is what you're saying.
it could be longer,
Okay.
yes.
These are,
So these are every 3 seconds, it's flashing something
I
at
thought it
you.
was flash, doing some new image every 8 seconds. I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's too busy. Five, I'm not opposed to 5.
So right now we're at 8.
I like.
You know, maybe
eight.
8's appropriate for the interchange, I mean, for the interstate.
Yeah, I like 8.
It's up to you guys. If you want to keep 8 or 5, I wanted you to see these times, so.
It's just interesting, I think, because what you're trying to regulate is how effective the sign is for that particular business. Some signs have more content on them, and they need that longer side, but like that fruit, avocados, 15 seconds, 5 seconds of that moving on was plenty for just an avocado sign. But other signs are different, so I mean, it's.
Yeah, if it had more
At
text.
what point do we start telling people, yes, you can have a sign, but we're gonna regulate how effective it can be? I agree with trying to eliminate the fast, rapid,
It's just the distraction.
it's the
Yeah, it's
distraction is what we're after.
distraction to drivers
And to me,
and
the
that kind
5
of thing.
seconds didn't seem distracting.
It
It
comes
depends how
down to
fast you're
kind of a
driving on the
safety
on the
issue.
road too. That's what it is on the billboard, is 8 seconds, and that's how they sell it to you. It's like you get one image every minute, and you're in there with 7 other images approximately.
I like the 8 seconds. I think it's less distracting and it's more of a safety thing for drivers and that kind of thing.
So, anybody want to give me a straw poll or something, or what are your
I'm
thoughts?
okay with what the council says, I'm
Or
saying,
just-
my opinion is that 5, I'm not opposed to 5 as well, but 8 seconds is reasonable.
Okay,
I think 5 is fine, and maybe we lean toward 5, because if these are on roads, these are not freeway, so they're not going as fast, right? So they can see it.
you're doing what, 40, is that the speed
Yeah.
limit on State Street?
Yep. And so you want to be able to, you want that sign to be able to capture maybe more than 1 or 2 things as they drive by.
Yeah, so that way they can see
When I
maybe 2
started
or 3
on this-
images as they drive toward it.
Okay, so,
And if I was a business owner, I'd want to be able to get more message out.
who, as far as 5 seconds?
I'm 5 seconds.
I'm not opposed to 5 seconds, I think 5 seconds is good.
I'm not opposed to 5.
Okay, I like 8, but what are your thoughts, Jerry?
Different, I guess.
Yeah,
Come on, just take an opinion.
Show this same video to the council.
Throw a new number out, no.
Mike?
I'm good with either one. I just, if it's not a safety issue, it is probably better to not go too long on the lower speed limit roads. So 5 is reasonable for sure.
It sounds like most of the commission feel like 5 is adequate.
Okay. And then one other thing, that last sentence, I don't know, this, to me, this is distracting. Sorry, we gotta watch
Yes, in
this quick
2011,
little.
I chose Wix, and it was really because
So this is one of the things that I think is distracting on the signs, is they're the ones that
Okay, so
constantly
this is a
scroll.
look at the LED sign that I got.
Maybe
Okay,
this
but isn't that the horizontal scroll you were talking about?
Yeah,
So that would be eliminated.
yeah, so that would be eliminated, but this is just a reassurance that, they know that they're not scrolling. It's more of a definition.
Scrolling is annoying, scrolling and
Yeah,
flashing.
this
are the
one's
same.
not, this video's not
They
coming
take
out
the
very
same
well.
amount of,
On University Mall or University Place, the LED signs they've got there, or the electronic signs they've got.
On the corner, the big one?
Right, I wonder how long that is, because to me, that's really distracting.
Just because it's so ginormous.
Yeah, I don't
Then it's
know.
in your
But
face.
it moves fast, yeah.
Also, if they, with the video, that's a little harder with, because you're not really, you're constantly moving as well as you are illuminated for 5 or 8 seconds, so.
video draws more of your attention. It requires a more focus to see the video.
Well, you're at a stop intersection as well, so that's
Yeah.
part of it. That's the,
You're sitting there, and
You're
those
sitting
are
there.
long lights.
Yeah.
But,
Sometimes you're not just sitting there, though.
but if you're
sometimes
moving,
You're
you
looking.
probably don't wanna look at it,
yeah,
Right,
you know,
right.
unless you're sitting there.
those are probably on an 8-second.
The last item, letter G, it says, prior to final approval of the sign, the applicant shall submit a report to the city that the sign meets the illumination levels for electronic message center signs. So, for example, on our sign out here, the sign company that's putting it together, they'll look at this. This is already in our code. This 0.3 foot candles, they'll measure that at 5 feet above the ground. They'll give us an inspection report basically saying that, yeah, it already meets the foot candles, so that, we're not too bright, we're already within those illumination standards. So that's what we'd require of anybody else before we gave final approval of their sign with the building department. Lastly, we changed just some cleanup in the T-zone, changing things from that changeable copy electronic to electronic message center. So with that, would be glad to answer any other questions or discuss anything.
What and where is there something that prohibits the display of certain things? If I'm driving down I-15 through Vegas, be honest.
Nudity.
I'm trying to keep my eyes on I-15, right? But, so what if there are some businesses that would choose to display something that may or may not be appropriate, and that's a subjective term, but do we have anything that governs that?
It's offensive.
Does the regular sign ordinance cover that?
No, and we can't, the Supreme Court has made it very clear, we cannot regulate content of signs. We can regulate lighting, placement, the timing, but we cannot.
You can't,
regulate.
but you can't display naked people on the sign, can you?
So that's up to the
It comes down
people
to
to
community
put the pressure on the
standards
business
and
owner.
obscenity standards, and so it's not a sign violation, it's a community, but I don't know where that would go. We had our gentleman who posted his sign on the front of the house about
Yep.
F. Biden,
Yeah.
and I did a lot of research to see what we could do about that, and it's very clear, under the First Amendment, we do not regulate content. And so where is the line drawn on pornography and obscenity? That is a shifting line, unfortunately.
So it's up to the business owner to not be offensive, because they'd hear from their customers.
Right.
So that would change their,
And I
Depends
think
on
that
what
that's
kind of
where it's
customers
a
you're
little
trying to
subjective.
well, okay, I mean, we could just pontificate
So
about it all
Lake
day.
Lubbock Sales has a massive electronic message center sign, and all they did was show videos of an old lady being dragged down the street by a Great Dane or a Lamborghini burning out, or, you know, it was never, you know, your next Ford for $330,000
that
at
did
low
that?
book sales.
Oh,
It was,
okay.
it was always these funny videos, but there was nothing we could do about it. It drove residents nuts, but there was nothing we could do about it, so.
Okay, so what you're saying is these things are the only things we can regulate.
Right.
Okay.
The Supreme Court in, it was a
It's kind of time, place, manner.
time, place, manner, exactly. It was Brown was the name, I can't remember if it was
Reed?
Texas or
Yeah, that's the newest one.
the newest one was, and they just came in and said, it was directional signs to a church. And the Supreme Court said that is content regulation. They prohibited directional signs to a church in a certain area. And I don't know why you'd wanna do that, but that was content regulation, so,
And the church won.
yeah, the church.
Right.
So, Mike, on this, we've gone through it, and from what I can tell, the things that the commission is wanting to probably make some changes on would be the attached monument signs to buildings.
Attached wall signs, yep.
Yeah, and then also the 5 seconds changeable.
Yep.
Okay, so is there anything else you would like
Well,
to change?
okay. I know we got some disagreement here a little bit, but what if, I mean, do we want to, well, maybe it's too much to go in and say 5 seconds on road speed limits less than 45, or 8 seconds on speeds with roads, but we don't have anything really high-speed roads in the city, you know, other than freeway.
And that would be the T-zone.
And that would be the T-zone, so I think we got it, it's covered.
Yeah, that's too much minutia.
Yeah, that's too, I agree. I mean, I was just trying to cover it, but yeah, that's, the way it's done is fine, because that's a T-zone.
Okay, well, are we ready then to close the public hearing, and then we can discuss, you know, those final changes and go ahead? So do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move we close the public meeting.
I second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay, any further discussion with the commission? Those are the only two things I picked up on from the previous discussion, is the attached monument signs and the 5 seconds changeable. So how would that work? Would you just change the verbiage on that
Yeah,
for the
I've
city
just,
council?
in your motion, if
or-
you'd make those, you know, motion to approve the ordinance with the changes for the wall sign, to allow electronic message center signs as a wall
I'm sorry.
sign, and to change the frequency, from 8 seconds to 5 seconds.
Yeah, interval.
Okay, do I have someone that'd like to make a motion?
I can take a stab at it if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 2022-18-0 with the following changes: that we add that electronic wall signs would be permitted, and that in section F, I believe it was, section 1F under on-premises message signs, that we change it, the interval from 8 to 5 seconds.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. So then that will go to city council with those changes. See what they think of it. Okay, and then the only other thing we have is a presentation by our city attorney, Brian Hawes. We appreciate you being here with us very
Well,
much.
it's our annual,
Oh, Jeopardy, nice.
it's our annual training, and so I thought we'd try to, you know, instead of the same
Did you bring some big bills?
grand,
Of course.
but, yeah, I'm not sure how to keep score or how to ring in, but, and we'll skip introducing the contestants because we all know them pretty well. So, but tonight we've got 5 categories. Extra, read all about it. That's talking about notices and agendas. The gang's all here. That's addressing quorums and what constitutes a public body. Speaking confidentially. We're talking about closed sessions, executive sessions, and what it takes to go into those. I don't know that we have ever gone into a closed session here, but technically there are some places and times when we could do that if we needed to. Can you hear me now? That is talking about electronic meetings. And then, so let it be written, so let it be done. That is talking about the minutes and voting. So, all right, we're gonna start it off, and Chairperson Call, we'll let you pick, and you just decide what category and what clue you wanna go to.
Okay, let's go to a $400 one on the gang's all here.
Okay. So a public body is any administrative, advisory, executive, or legislative body that is authorized to exercise either of these 2 powers. So just name one of the 2 powers that this body has to have in order to be a public body and is regulated by the Open Meetings Act.
Do you mean like
Legislative?
administrative and legislative?
What?
Or-
Okay. In the form of a question?
Oh, what would be a legislative power?
Okay.
Okay,
That's right. Oh, let's see. It's delayed up there. I was like, oh, I can't get to go. Okay, make decisions. So it doesn't have to be legislative
Okay,
necessarily.
so you're talking about money and, okay.
Yeah, spend tax revenues or make decisions regarding the public's business. So you guys don't spend a whole lot of tax revenue here,
we don't.
but you make a lot of decisions impacting the public's business. So you are clearly a public body. Okay, Renee, we'll let you pick the next
So
one.
did we get some?
You got some points, like I said, I don't know how to,
Get some money?
I'm gonna let you guys fight
That's
over.
what I said.
You get
You
some
were supposed to
bragging
bring the
rights.
cash. Sharon was supposed to bring the cash.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with 600. Can you hear me now? Thank you, Brian.
Okay. I gotta look at this thing, that's too much of a drag. Can you hear me now? 600. Well, not expressly prohibited by statute, legal counsel, yours truly, strongly discourages this form of electronic communication between council or commission members during any public meeting.
What is texting?
Thank you very much. Yeah, when we're discussing the public's purposes and the public's business, we need it all out on the table. And now, if you have got a question for staff on a procedural matter, that's no problem. And like I said, it's not expressly prohibited, but understand, anything you're texting regarding the public's business is something that is discoverable under
Under grandma?
Under grandma. It's something that has to be disclosed. That's the word I wanted to use.
So that's just to mitigate conniving between
Right.
people, like, hey, I'm not, are you, I'm not, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Okay, I don't know why that did that.
I think I gotta go again, because I got that right.
You gotta go, you control the board.
I think I got mine right too, but I didn't care.
Yeah, I'm not sure who buzzed in first. That's the problem with this.
Okay, for 400, extra, read all about it.
Okay, 400. Agenda, place, time, and date. I mix those up. Agenda, date, time, and place.
What has to be given to the public in advance of a meeting?
Public notice.
Yes, basic information in the public notice. Very good. All right.
Okay, you guys better think of a
Okay,
gift card or something, I don't know. I'm going.
You're
I'm
going.
going. You guys gonna play? Let's go.
Well,
Okay, for 200, speaking confidentially, anybody can, you guys have to get to your microphone if you wanna
Just-
buzz in.
Just go. All public meetings are deemed this unless appropriate steps are taken according to statute to go into an executive or closed meeting.
What is an open session?
Okay? Answer, what is open? An open meeting.
Okay.
All meetings are deemed to
go.
be open. All right, you got it, Scott.
All right, I'm gonna go big. So let it be written for 1,000.
4,000. Okay. The number of votes required under the Lindon City Code to pass any ordinance or resolution.
What is majority?
Yeah.
What is three?
But three or more.
Okay, that's a trick question. That's why it was 1,000. Under state statute, it is a majority. So if we had 3 members present, we'd have a quorum, right? And so we could go forward, and 2 votes could pass an ordinance under state law. But ordinance 2.08.50 in Lindon, you have to have a majority of the body, and so it has to be 3. So, all right.
So when we talk about a quorum and we're about to start a meeting, we have to have 4 of us here.
That's right.
Because
So,
there's 7 of us, and there's only 5 for city council.
There's only 5 city
Yeah.
council members. The mayor is in our form of government is not a council member, can vote to break ties, but
Right.
does not count for constituting a quorum.
That doesn't apply to us, though?
No, this is just ordinances and resolutions, so.
So we are all by it. So
Yeah.
if there's 4 of us here, we'd need 3.
You need 3, right? So in that sense, yeah.
But I guess if there was.
But if there's
We don't
but if
need
there's
4.
7 of you here, then you need the 4, right?
okay.
Okay, I'm not sure who got that one. We'll go back to
It
Scott.
was Marchbanks.
Okay, Mike Marchbanks, pick one.
Speaking confidentially for 400.
All right. Percentage of members that are required to vote in favor of going into a closed meeting. To go from the public into, you have to vote to go into it. What percentage do you need?
We don't do that.
I know you don't do that.
What is 100%?
No, what is a majority?
Eh, eh.
Oh. What is 3?
What is 75%?
75, 2/3. 2/3. Supermajority. Has to
Oh,
go in.
supermajority, okay.
Right. And so it does have to be by a roll call vote.
All right.
Every person going into the closed session, if we were ever to go into a closed session, we'd have to say, how do you vote, Scott and Renee? And you'd have to go down and put it on the record that you're voting to go into the closed session. All right.
So there's a little part of me with this situation, they've had an Orem
Uh-huh.
where they closed out the.
Yeah, they
as far
didn't
as-
go technically into a closed session
I
because
don't
they
know
didn't
what
vote to
that
close it. They
was.
just shut off the live feed.
Live feed.
Did they do it after?
They did it during the middle of it.
During the middle of it,
And
they
there's
did, there's been several
on
times.
purpose. Their logic, which I not sure I understand, and I don't mean to judge them, but their
No.
logic was that there is a provision in the code that says you cannot put things on your city website that promotes or one side of an issue on a
Right.
and
And
so
they were
their
doing
their
that.
feeling was that but you are allowed to discuss it and articulate your opinion as long as you give both sides time in a public meeting. The code specifically allows for that. Orem felt that if they put this on the live stream, it would be counted as being on their website, and so they decided to shut it down. I'm not sure that
Are we
I
talking
would-
about Prop 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would agree with that,
Council
but that
meeting.
was their logic.
Yeah, that's,
So that's what happened there. But that was not an executive session, and they didn't go through that process. So, all right. I have lost track of who's got the board.
Me?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
The gang's all here, 600.
Okay, gang's all here, 600. Okay, this type of gathering may include elected or appointed officials, but is still not considered a public meeting. Any one of 3 answers will
What is
do.
a party?
What is a Christmas
What
party?
is a social gathering?
Right, what is a social gathering? A meeting with fewer members than, that make a quorum. So if 3 members of 3 commissioners got together to discuss something, you could discuss something coming up, but it's not a public meeting because you don't have a quorum. And we discourage that, again, along with the texting, but technically under the Open Meetings Act, 3 people discussing it does not constitute a quorum, does not fall under the Open Meetings Act.
So technically, at a Christmas party, if there were a table big enough, we shouldn't all sit at the same table.
Well, you can all sit at the
Yeah,
same
but you
table.
can't, depends what you discuss. You can't discuss it.
Right. Or the third one is, sometimes there are things that are purely administrative and don't actually require any formal action, like like giving some direction to staff, things like that, of what you would like to see come before the council that doesn't technically fall under that as well. But it has to be purely administrative. Okay, where to next? We're about halfway done.
Extra, read all about it for 600. Did we already
Okay.
do that?
Yep. The council or commission can do this with an item that is not included on the agenda. If something's not on the agenda, what can we do?
The public comment, oh,
What is add?
that's what I meant.
What is,
What is added to the agenda?
no,
Oh,
but you can do close to that.
Discuss?
What is, there you go. What is, you can discuss the item, but you cannot take any official action.
okay.
So when the public comes in and raises an issue, we are more than welcome to discuss that and get into some detail, but we can't take any action.
That on the next meeting?
Right,
It has to be-
exactly. We would
it's a
notice
public-
it
it's a
up.
public
Because there's no
notice.
notice, got it.
It's a public notice
Right.
issue.
Exactly. Okay,
This is fun.
Steve, you go again.
Can you hear me now? 1,000.
Can you hear me now? 1,000. Okay, this is a little, and again, you guys don't do this a whole lot.
Yeah.
But if we ever did, this requirement may be waived for up to 30 days if the mayor makes a written determination that abiding by this requirement for an electronic meeting would pose a substantial risk to the public or to the council or the commission.
What is postpone?
No.
Okay.
It's a requirement to have, and
Is
a
it-
little bit up there,
A requirement to have someone present here?
there you go, to
Okay.
have an anchor location.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nice. Good job.
You have to have, for an electronic meeting, you have to have an anchor location. But if we have a pandemic that, we went through but it can only last for 30 days. The legislature says you can only do it for 30 days. So, all right. I'm just gonna bump up to, can you hear me now, for 200 because it's right there with it. This term is used to describe the location where public meetings are regularly held, where at least one member of the public body must be located during an electronic meeting.
What is an anchor?
What is an anchor location, exactly? So, all right. Renee, why don't you,
Let's do 400, so let it be written, so let it be done.
okay.
Ramsey's.
Okay, I've kind of answered this one already. The number of votes under state law that are required to be made in favor of an action in order for it to pass.
Simple majority. of
There you
present.
go.
What is simple majority of those present?
I gotta remember that what is part. The majority of the quorum that is present at the meeting.
Right.
All right. Steve?
Jared needs to pick one. Jared.
Jared,
Yeah, I would pick one, yeah.
One of the $1,000 ones, I guess.
Of course.
Gangs all, we did already do that one?
okay, gang's all here, 1,000. Minimum number of people required in order to constitute a public body.
What is one?
No.
They would have-
Public body.
Public bodies, we're a public body.
Public body,
Oh.
not a public official, a public body.
5? What is 5?
Eh,
One's 3. No?
what is 2?
Oh, really?
Public body,
Yeah.
That was
wow, okay.
close.
So, that's the plan, that's the county commission. They've got 3 members, but they can, 2 people being there constitutes that quorum. And that-
I was thinking you meant the public.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said one, with one
Going
public
back to
member.
that, going back to that, yeah, with 0 sometimes works for the public
Yeah, okay.
attendance, but yeah. No, the official public body is what we were talking about. Okay,
Speaking confidentially, 1,000.
all right. There's a rule that an audio recording must be made of all executive sessions, but it can be waived for discussions of character, competency, or health, or for security measures, but only if the mayor or the chairperson does this first. It's 1,000 points. I don't know that you'll get this one. What do you think would have to happen before you could turn off the recording in a closed session?
A roll call vote?
Close. But this is just something that the mayor or chairperson has to do.
I don't know.
What is instigate?
They put their necks on the line.
Oh, wow.
They have to sign a sworn statement
Wow.
that is the only purpose for going into it. for turning off the recording. And that they won't discuss anything else.
Because it's like if they're gonna discuss an HR issue or something like that.
Right.
They don't
We're
want
gonna fire
that.
the chief tomorrow or
But
something.
even if it says the chairperson, but we don't ever discuss things like that.
No, that's,
Right. I can imagine some really strange scenarios where we, as a commission, might need to go into a closed session, but those are very rare. It would be a stretch to see us going into too many closed sessions, so.
Yeah.
But it's part of the training, and I knew I could
So
get you on
that's
that one.
great.
So, okay. Speaking confidentially, let's
For
just
600.
let's just finish that one up. Okay, list 3 of the 6 reasons that you are allowed to go into an executive session. Anybody know? There's 6 reasons you can close a public meeting. Confidentiality regarding what?
personnel,
Employee.
Okay, employee, personality, or character.
national security.
We'll go with that. Security measures, that's one
Security
of them.
measures.
Possible litigation.
Litigation, it's very good. Confidential, we'll go into, so character, competency, health of an individual. But note, the council cannot do that when they're considering a replacement for a member of the council. That has to, it used to be they would go in and they would talk amongst themselves about character and competency, but it was, the legislature changed that. To fill a vacancy on the council, it cannot be done in closed session.
Has to be public.
Collective bargaining, I think Salt Lake City is the only one who does any collective bargaining in the state. But pending litigation, and then the other one that we didn't get was just the purchase or sale of real estate and water.
That the city is gonna purchase or sell?
Or sell, yeah, so that people don't jack the prices up when they find out that the city's interested in buying a parcel for a park or something. That's the public reason behind that. So those are the 6 reasons that we can go into a closed session, and only those. And again, remember, you have to have a recording going while it's going on, but you can turn the recording off for the discussion of competency and character or deployment of security plans. Okay, we've got only 1,000 left. Should we hit it? Okay, this is the lawyer. The Latin term used to describe the fact that an action of the public body has no binding legal effect if it was taken without proper notice. What is that Latin term?
I have any idea.
Anybody? I think you'll recognize it.
As a plea,
Okay, here we go. Void ab initio.
never heard of it. Heard of
It just
noble
means,
contendere,
it's
but-
void, ab initio means at the beginning, so it was never in effect. So if we were to vote on an ordinance or a proposal that was never put on the notice, it's as if it never happened, that vote never happened, and everything goes back to the way it was before the action was taken, so. Okay. Where should we go? Anybody?
600.
600 for so let it be written, so let it be done. The time frame in which a recording of public meetings must be made available to the public.
What is 24 hours?
Close. Kathy?
10 days. Did you ask me?
I was gonna say,
3 days.
3 days.
72.
We have to get the recordings. Minutes can take longer,
Okay.
and
Kathy,
minutes
you're
can be
playing.
adjusted.
You're playing too.
Did you ask me?
Yeah.
I did.
1,000? What is 3 days?
There you go. Okay, we'll just pop through these really quick because we're about done. Minimum amount of time notice must be provided before a public meeting may be held. If we want to hold a special meeting, we have to give at least how much notice?
Hours?
What is
20
that?
72 hours?
24.
24 hours, right there. Now, some meetings require more. If we're going to be changing a land use ordinance, it requires 10 days. But Mike and Mary and Adam, they'll take care of that. They've got those things down. You don't need to worry about those extra ones. Gang's all here. Okay, what is this definition? A simple majority of members of a public body.
What is a quorum?
50.
What is a quorum?
Oh, what is a quorum?
Yeah, what is a quorum? Okay. Can you hear me now? Adequate equipment must be provided during an electronic meeting to ensure that the public can do these 2 things.
Hear you and see you.
Hear you
And be heard.
and
Oh, and be
participate
heard.
and provide comments.
Listen and
yeah.
provide comment.
Yeah, when we first started out, and we don't do it anymore, but when we were in the full COVID thing, we had it on Facebook and we were taking comments and Adam would read out comments. I think in the whole time, we maybe got 3 comments in that whole year time period that we were doing stuff. But it was you have to provide a way for them to participate. And then the last one, so let it be done. This written document constitutes the official record, even if there isn't a video or audio recording of the meeting.
What are the minutes?
What are the minutes? And remember, you can go in and you can amend the minutes. If you said something and you just switch things up, and Kathy, she wrote it down exactly the way you said it, but you meant to say it another way, you can come in and you can amend those minutes, and that is the official record. But, okay, Final Jeopardy.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Look out.
The penalty someone is in jeopardy of receiving if they knowingly violate the Open Meetings Act. So if you know that you're not supposed to do it, but you just gotta get it in because you gotta get it under the table or something, and you knowingly violate the Open Meetings Act, what is the penalty?
What is incarceration?
You're right. It's 180 days of incarceration.
See?
Wow.
Class B misdemeanor. Maximum penalty of 180 days and a fine up to $1,000 plus surcharges of $1,500. So you can get up to $2,500.
Well, you better keep us in mind, Brian.
So far so good. But anyway, that went a little bit longer than my last meeting, but I hope it was a little more
was fun.
entertaining, and
was
I
fun.
hope you guys
That was
got
great.
something out of it.
Yep, we learned a lot.
Thank you.
Awesome. And
Good
that's that.
times. All right, thank you.
Thanks for doing an amazing job for us.
And that counted as an hour of training for your state requirements.
Okay.
So.
I still gotta watch that one other one.
Okay.
Okay, planning commission reports. The only thing I have is that, and maybe Mike was gonna bring this up anyway, but the last city council meeting, I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but I listened to it. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of go over what the city council's discussion was on the Thornton property and where they're at on that.
Yeah, so they continued the item for the R112 zone change. They requested staff work with the developer and try and negotiate whether we could still get a detention area on the property. It's needed, and they wanted some more information on the need for that detention basin as well. And so, one thing they were interested in, it was for 16 lots, was the R112 zone change. That was the request. They were interested in maybe he still gets the 16 lots, but maybe they're a little bit smaller so the city can get the detention basin. So we've met with the developer about that.
Was that as per the suggestion of the council?
It was a suggestion from city staff, but then the council liked that suggestion, so. But we'll see. He's gonna put some numbers together and come back and meet with us, and then we'll take it back to the city council.
See, I don't think when we were reviewing it for the rezone, without the detention basin, I don't think we really understood how crucial that detention basin is to the city. I know that we can't require it of the developer, but, listening to that discussion, that the city really needs that detention basin, they don't really have another avenue to get that. At least that's what I
The other
took
avenue
from
is increasing the size of the storm drain line, which would cost a lot more money.
Right.
But, no, there were some council members that were ready to pass it, but they continued it, just to see what we could negotiate with the developer.
Right, on getting that retention basin.
Mm-hmm.
So let him keep the number of units, but but they would end up being ultimately smaller lots so that we could fit a detention basin in there.
That's correct. He's saying he can't make it work because the lot sizes, he's losing that money off the lot size as well. And so we asked him to come back and say, okay, is it 17 units then? Is it 18 to make it up? What is that? And we'll see what he comes back with. We met with him a week ago, today, wasn't it? And we haven't heard back from him, so.
Has engineering determined what area is needed for detention, how, in terms of acreage, is it?
They would like 2.5 acres.
Yikes.
Substantial.
And he's got 1 acre, sorry, he's got 38,000 square feet. And so just,
That can go toward that.
that could. So the plan would be to, get his that property of his, it's just less than 1 acre, and buy 1.5 acres from the Cooks. And then we would build the park furthest to the west.
And is that cheaper than upgrading the storm
It is.
system?
That's what engineering told us.
Cause
But it all depends on
how far
what,
off-site would the storm drain need to be changed or upgraded?
I don't know.
Sounds to me like it's going off-site.
Yeah, I don't know how big the pipe is and where it's going, so.
But I understood though from their discussion that the Cooks were not willing to.
The Cooks are not willing to sell. Well, so the Cooks aren't willing to just sell outright. They don't want money, they want
They don't wanna
land.
cause a taxable event.
And so they
So-
would like us to, so what they would do is take the change that we would have is that we would take the west side, 2.5 acres, and then we would give them this developer's property. So then they would have their 2 acres plus the developer's property.
That's really interesting. Yeah, when we, like I said, when we voted in favor of the rezone, I don't think we really had all of that information, as far as how crucial those retention areas were.
I mean, I remember we talked about it though.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, I was
But
getting,
does the need,
Well, but we
But
didn't-
I'm not
we
being
didn't know at the
critical,
time
I'm
that
just-
it
we
would
didn't-
trigger, but now we know, so we know
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
yeah.
No, it's not, because, I mean, it's
Yeah.
in the council's decisions on that anyway, and they would have to make any decisions to purchase additional property or anything else.
Yeah, because I remember us
so.
talking about where the water was coming from.
We did
and-
talk all about that. No, I wasn't being critical on that.
Yeah.
I think, just myself personally, I didn't understand.
And we didn't talk about a lot about that at the council meeting either. That's why they asked us to have engineering come back and explain really the need for it.
Okay, yeah, that'll be interesting how that works through. So, okay, I don't have anything else unless, commissioners, do you have anything else you'd like to bring
when's
up?
our next meeting?
Well, it'll be on the
November?
15th, I think it is.
November what?
November 15th, I believe.
Right. So we will have 3 weeks in between this
Yeah.
time.
How
So
come?
it's not on the 8th?
The 8th is the 2nd.
Is it election day?
Oh, it's because elections. Got it,
So we're November 15th?
yeah.
We're doing the 3rd versus,
It's on the city website. So I don't know.
Yeah, that would be the third Tuesday.
So planning commission is for November, is the 15th and 29th.
Got it.
okay, so I moved them to the 3rd and 5th.
There's a 5-week Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
5th Tuesday.
So we get to skip
And
Thanksgiving.
December, do we only have one meeting? in
Uh-huh.
December?
That'll be on the 13th.
I will be in town for both of those.
Outstanding.
That's a really good thing. So, and then city council, their meetings are, I can look on the website.
Their
first.
meetings are the 7th and 21st.
Okay,
And then they
Hey.
do meet twice in December. We just meet once.
Okay. So do you have anything else you want to bring up, Mike?
On the 15th, right now, we're expecting at least one item, maybe two. We may have a subdivision to subdivide one more lot for Joe Martell over there off of, just close to you. He came and subdivided one lot on a cul-de-sac last year.
His kid's already under construction on that.
Yeah, and now he's gonna subdivide one more lot for another son. And then we also will have a public hearing, whether to consider prohibiting extended stay motels and hotels in Lindon.
Is that your Airbnb or?
No,
No.
Extended stay hotels.
Oh, yeah, okay, I wasn't listening careful.
So we'll explain more about that next time.
And the why we're
Mhm.
wanting to discuss it.
Yeah,
On the topic of Airbnbs, since council's here, I see in other states are really cranking down hard on those. I mean, they're going from literally 6,000 Airbnbs, like along a beachfront location, and they're just saying, okay, now we're gonna do it by lottery, and only 1,500 people get it. I mean, they're really cranking down hard on it in some of these states.
it's because of the second house that people have, and they're looking at affordability, and there's not enough housing, and so they're starting to regulate and force more housing.
Well, Mike, you were saying that you are putting together something as far as for the city of Lindon.
Yeah, I've already written one, I just haven't brought it to you guys yet. It sounds like there will be some legislation this year with the legislature, so I've been holding off on that to wait
Until
and
that
see
comes
what they
down.
do.
Okay,
So that's the thinking of restricting it. That it would force it into more of a permanent solution versus.
It turns it into a rental rather than
Instead
a,
of a vacation solution.
Provides more housing for,
I see.
permanent housing for people.
Yeah.
well,
I don't think we haven't surely been inundated, have we at all? I'm not aware of
well, we're
only a
getting
couple.
more of it
Are
up
you?
where
Are
we are.
It's been about 6 months since I looked, but I think there was like either 9 or 11 that we had on VRBO and Airbnb was the last time I looked.
We don't
I get calls almost weekly, people asking if they can do an Airbnb and how many people they're allowed to have,
Right,
that kind of thing.
and your answer is?
You can do whatever you like, we don't have a code for it.
Okay.
But you can't, disturb
Right,
neighbors.
right.
Although call the police on you.
I like it.
do you?
Okay.
It's been Orm's policy.
Well, my biggest concern on it is if there's adequate parking and things like that. And your noise ordinances and,
Yeah, but those already exist. Noise ordinances already exist. I mean,
those two, but the parking requirements for an Airbnb.
Parking's becoming a thing that's being dealt with in the state legislatures and whatnot too. I mean, there's full-blown apartment complexes going in Salt Lake City with
No problem.
a quarter car per door.
Well,
well, that's because they want people to take public
They-
transportation.
and
They're
so-
trying
so
to
I
push
think
everybody in
they
that.
might not let us be punitive over parking either.
right, and for the same reason, they've taken parking out of our control for the ADUs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they're also restricting, denying us to restrict that, so.
Yeah.
Parking's sort of a tough sell.
There's probably almost a half dozen states now that have prohibited cities from having an R1 zoning. So that's a current trend too. So you couldn't have an R112, you couldn't have an R120 to try and promote more housing. So you could fit more twin homes and duplexes and triplexes on your lots. So that's a, yeah,
It's a
there's,
catch-22, because from the lending side, we're reluctant to lend on projects with no parking.
yeah.
Because we don't wanna be left holding the bag if really that doesn't work.
Yeah.
To have a 100-unit apartment complex with no parking, we don't know if we wanna be the proud owner of it.
That's true.
Tell people are flying around on They're
Hey, but they'll-
skateboards or something.
But there's a lot of bird scooters parked out front.
Well, it won't be long till everybody's just these e-bikes. Right, I mean, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
big.
I had some friends that just came back from Italy and they said it was all, their transportation over there was all e-scooters or e-bikes.
Yeah, well, I just came back from San Diego and they've somewhat,
No, because you won't work hard enough.
But I see a lot of, older, more mature people riding e-bikes around.
I have one.
He tells me. we
It's
can't
different.
have
just
one
bought my
because
wife
we
one.
won't
Get
work
one,
hard enough.
Sharon.
Yeah,
I
you,
do it 60 miles a week on the trail up here on the
Yeah.
Murdoch Trail.
Well,
I go clear over to
so you might be,
Thanksgiving Point.
they're not, there's,
I buy.
you still have, they're pedal assist and you still have to
Yeah.
pedal.
I use the pedal
not a
assist to
moped.
get from my house up on top of the trail and
Yeah.
then you go zero once
Yeah.
you're on the trail.
yeah.
Although there's those,
My
ones that
husband
go
just
faster.
feels like, because we bike a lot, but he feels like we wouldn't work hard enough.
You know what, you can get a pretty good sweat still if you turn your
it's,
pedal assist off once you get on the flat ground. But going uphill, I wouldn't do it if I didn't have at least a 1 or 2 assists going to get from down at my place up on the Murdoch
well,
Trail.
there's pedal assist bikes and then there's ones that kind of look like a little mini bike, like a motorized
Yeah,
motorcycle. And those, you see a lot of those on the path because they rent them down there at the mouth of the canyon.
Yeah.
And those have a different application than,
do they not even have pedals on
they
them?
do have pedals, but they seem to go really fast too.
I've seen some on the trail that look like just an electric motorcycle with
Well,
pedals.
right, that's what I'm
Is that
talking about.
legal?
I don't think they should be on,
Well,
people are going fast.
Technically,
We
They're
probably
not.
ought to.
Yeah,
if it goes faster than 25, I
Yeah.
can't remember if it goes faster than a certain speed, then it is a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's not an e-bike.
Well, you sure
by
see a
itself.
lot of young kids riding them nowadays.
Well,
I
we're
was going
seeing
down
them up
State
on the
Street doing about
mountainside.
45 or 50, and I had an e-bike pass me on the side of the road. Just went,
Well, the first e-bike I bought, my son-in-law opened, he's the store manager of the Costco in Riverton and opened it. And they had a bike, it wasn't cheap, it was $4,800 e-bike. I bought it, brought it home. It'd go 38 miles an hour, not even pedaling. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get killed on this. And I
yeah,
took it
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Well, I was just down in San Diego and
Downgraded.
I was downtown San Diego and there's a classic, they overreacted to bicycles. I mean, every lane now has its own,
Yes.
dedicated bike lane, a buffer, a bicycle a bicycle signal. And I mean, and so now the congestion down there is horrendous and they're starting to have crashes with commercial vehicles, not enough width in the road. And I didn't see any bicycles. I mean,
Is that right?
they just dedicated all the land on this desire to be bike friendly. And
Boy, I'll tell you what, we're sure got some great trails now that I've been riding for 3 or 4 months. We got some incredible
Yeah, they do.
biking trails
Well,
here.
what we ought to do is adjourn our meeting unless Mike has something else, and then we can talk all we want about.
Yeah, let these guys go home.
So moved.
Yeah, men's activity.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, now, this is a great time to talk all about bicycles.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Bunch of mobsters?